I'm a side hustler, web developer, social media person. So that's sort of my connection with Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram is the platform that I enjoy being on the most, and therefore it's the one that I sort of decided to go deep in. So I'm not a general social media person, so don't ask me about Facebook ads. Don't ask me about LinkedIn.
Gotcha.
It's Instagram's my jam. I'm a side hustler, so I've got a day job. I've got a little boy and a family, so time is precious.
Mm-hmm.
So I try and focus on Instagram and kind of portfolio websites for small businesses and coaches and things like that.
Okay. So did you find Instagram pretty early on and just decide to niche down? This is it. This is the platform I want to be on.
Actually, no, I think I was quite a late adopter. But it was just one of those things that just appealed to me more than sort of the other social media, where there's a bit more, it's really simple. That's the thing that I like about Instagram is it at least not yet anyway, it doesn't have as many bells and whistles and options. And it is getting more and more with, it's got direct messages and it's got lives and it's got stories and all those kind of things, so it is kind of adding more to it, but it's pretty streamlined. That all you can do is really post photos and videos, and then you can either like it or not.
Yeah.
There's not all these different reactions, and one thing that I find that it tends to be a more positive social media platform. People on Twitter can get a bit ranty, and a lot of there's a lot of political stuff on Twitter, and there's a lot of political stuff on Facebook, and there's people can. It seems like it's easier for people to post negative stuff on those platforms, and generally, you get trolls on Instagram as well, but generally it seems people are more likely to post a happy image than like a ranty negative kind of thing. So it's just that place that I feel more comfortable being, and I just want to be there more, so I gravitate towards that, because why would you choose to spend more and more time on a platform that you don't enjoy using?
For sure. And yeah, I don't know why that is, because I use Instagram just for fun, not really so much for our business, but after this maybe I will. But it for whatever reason, where Facebook, I don't know, where there is more of an emphasis maybe on text, that people can feel like they just get on their soapbox and they just boom rant. Twitter, where it's pretty much all about short, little nasty things to say. But yeah, Instagram is more, I guess, also because it's so much more visual. Like sometimes you don't even read comments and hashtags and stuff. It's just like boom, this visual representation of a feeling, which is generally positive.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that a lot more. Daniel in the comments says that people on Twitter now get ranty easier now that they offer connected tweets. So some people on here talking Twitter. I don't do a lot of it, so I don't even know what connected tweets are.
I guess, is that like threaded messages where you can
you can like reply to it and it goes on, maybe something for the Twitter experts. We had one guy on here who that's how he built his business, was on Twitter, but even he said that he was kind of shifting away from it just because of some of the changes and the way it was happening. But so Instagram, when I reached out to my network, I was like, hey, I'm looking for somebody to talk Instagram. They said, Al, you got to talk to Al. I had 2 or 3 people recommend you. So super excited for you to be on here just to kind of dive into this, because there's different niches. There's different, I don't know, for your clients. So do you offer Instagram? Let me rephrase this. What do you do for clients on Instagram?
So I help predominantly fairly early stage businesses, whether they're coaches or small businesses or local businesses, fairly early on in their social media and even online presence kind of journey. So in the non-Instagram side of my business, I do a lot of their first website. So they've never had one before. And so on Instagram, I'm helping businesses that have maybe 30 or 200 followers and they're feeling a bit like, yeah, I want to be on Instagram. I feel like I should be on Instagram. It seems like a nice place to be. It seems that there's, you know, a market out there. You know, people are following other accounts similar to mine on there, but I don't know how to get to a number of followers that feels like it's got momentum. So sometimes people talk about like 10K followers as being like that's kind of like a standard that a lot of people aspire to.
Okay.
But even for if you're starting from essentially zero, you know, getting to 100 or 500 followers is quite a big thing. So that's what I generally do, is I help people get to a number that they're happy with, that they feel then the momentum builds. Because when you don't have a following, you know, Facebook, Instagram, same thing. The algorithm, the mythical algorithm works in the background. And if nobody likes your stuff, then they're not going to show your stuff to anybody. And then nobody else is going to see it. So you're not going to, you know, that's kind of how it works. So you have to build up some kind of engagement in order to feel like it's kind of ticking over on its own. So yeah, that's what I help people to do.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Feeling like getting your clients to feel like they're not wasting their time, because they could put all this content out there and spend all this time on content curation, creating their own. But if there's no audience, then nobody's doing anything with it. They're not sharing it. They're not, you know, there's no interaction. The algorithm's not sprinkling any of its magic to like get it out there to anyone else. So it's hard to get that snowball effect. Right.
And one of the things I was going to say was actually that just posting nice content or good high quality is a nice way of putting it. Posting high quality content itself just isn't enough, because actually I was looking at sort of a friend of a friend's account a couple of weeks ago, and they had something like 150 posts on their account, and it was beautiful, you know, lovely color scheme and really, really high quality. But each image itself was getting like 1, 2, 3 likes. So there's just, you know, that the account owner there was clearly either paying someone to produce high quality posts or spending a lot of time producing high quality posts themselves, but then they're just kind of going into the abyss and not getting that engagement. And it's because that account had, I think, less than 200 followers. And so Instagram isn't picking up the fact that, oh, this is engaging content. This is useful and interesting. People, if this person likes it, then I'll show it to this other person. It's not doing that because nobody's liking it. And so you need to get that little bit of momentum going.
So before we dive into kind of niches and fields, do you find that it's better to kind of build up your numbers first before you start doing a lot of content, or is it something that you're developing your content while you're trying to raise the numbers?
So I always recommend, if you're starting a brand new account, you need to first get at least 9 images or videos up there. So 9 pieces of content, because when somebody clicks on your profile, they see 9. Okay. And so if you don't have 9, then there's going to be some white space at the bottom. So you want to get 9 up first, and then you can start building the engagement. And in terms of posting frequency, it depends on your followers. It depends how engaged they are, how much content they want to consume. But somewhere between 1 to 3 posts per day and 1 to 3 posts per week is enough. Somewhere in that range, and that's a huge range, because that's anywhere from once a week to like 20 times per week, depending on how much time you've got and what your audience wants. The good thing with Instagram is that when people visit your profile, they don't automatically see how old your most recent post was. So as long as, if they come back in a couple of days, there's something new, they're not going to notice like this is a really stagnant account because they haven't posted in the last 20 minutes. Whereas, you know, but that means that they have to come to your profile. So you have to get them to your profile. And that's not always just about content. That can be about engagement strategies. So yeah, I'd say do them hand in hand. Get those 9, minimum 9 up first. I don't know if you guys can hear banging in the background, but I've got a 2-year-old who's clearly,
no worries,
clearly not happy about being locked out of this, out of my study. So yeah, getting a minimum of 9 posts up so that when someone visits your profile, they see a full page at least, and then go through building your audience and posting intermittently as well. But even if you're posting, say, 3 times a week, that's going to be enough to kind of keep things ticking over. There is an element of the more you post up to a limit. You don't want to be kind of really spammy and posting hundreds of times a day, but the more you post, the more relevant your content might seem, and so the more likely you are that other people will see it. But that's a trade-off that you have to manage, and the kind of people that I'm working with, you know, we're developing it on the basis of them doing the posting and then continuing rather than a completely outsourced system. You know, they're already aware that they don't have time to be on Instagram all day. So we're kind of trying to do essentially enough to build it, but not so much that it takes all day, and therefore takes you away from what you're actually supposed to be doing, working on your business.
That makes sense. Doing just enough kind of best bang for your buck to get that momentum going, but not so much to where they're just constantly on Instagram. They spend their full-time job is then on Instagram, and
exactly
really not the ROI. So you had mentioned also engagement. So is that commenting, liking other people's things? Like what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of this quote by Zig Ziglar, which is, you can have anything in the world that you want if you give enough people what they want. Okay, so this is the thing that social media kind of boils down to me, is the reason most people are on social media is that kind of little dopamine hit when you get likes and comments and followers and all of that kind of stuff. It makes you feel good when you get these notifications. You're like, oh wow, I've got a comment. Oh wow, I've got 10 likes. You know, I've got 3 new followers. Like, it feels really good. So if you give that feeling to other people, then they'll come and at least look at your profile. Okay, so you're going to get more people visiting your profile, and people that then think, oh, I like the look of this account, they'll follow you. And then you'll have a new follower and they'll like a few of your photos, and basically you'll get back a certain amount of what you give out. So that's basically the thesis behind the way that I work on Instagram is if you give out the love, because on Instagram it's those little hearts, you know, you double tap for the heart. If you give out the love, then a certain amount of it's going to come back to you. And it's maybe that sounds cynical, like you're just doing it for the sake of it, but it's true. It does work. And also it's not spammy to like somebody else's photo or to follow an account that might be relevant to you. You know, I just don't see it as in any way negative. So yeah, engagement, liking, commenting, and following other accounts is pretty much all you can do on Instagram. So like, comment, follow, and then those accounts have the option, and this is the way I kind of sell it. They've got the option to like and comment and follow you back, or not. You know, you're not, it's not like cold calling or cold emailing or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. You're just kind of saying, hey, I like that photo of yours. They come back to your profile and they're like, meh, and off they go. There's no harm done, no harm, no foul. Or they come to your profile and they're like, oh, cool, I dig this guy's account. I'm going to follow it because I like what he's doing.
No, that makes sense. And it's interesting. That's a similar strategy to a lot of other social media platforms, as far as just kind of trying to authentically engage with people. Like, you don't just go in and randomly start liking stuff. It's more like finding accounts that are similar to yours, or maybe have the same vibe. And then, oh, I like this. I want to see more of this. I'm going to follow you. And then giving them the option when it pops up, so-and-so liked your post or liked your photo, then you can check out theirs. And I guess that's why you want to have at least that 9 minimum. So when they do come back to check out your profile, they can get a feel for you and your kind of your profile and decide, oh yeah, I want to see more of this, or yeah, I would like to hear more of this, or just like you said, and move on.
Yeah, exactly.
So one thing, Krista asked in the comments that she has a client who wants to know more about Instagram stories. And so how are those different than regular posts? Are they different for regular posts? Are they good for businesses?
Yeah, so Instagram stories, I'm in my business, I'm not using them just because of it's a time thing, and because I'm not kind of actively doing something which I feel would make a good story. However, I think if you've got a business where you're engaging with co-workers or whatever, if you've got a team, if you're doing something interesting or exciting, if you're launching something, if you say run a coffee shop and it's busy, and like if something interesting is going on, then stories absolutely are great. Stories give you the opportunity of doing something that's effectively, it's almost live, and obviously you can go live on Instagram as well, and it's kind of the same vibe. It's a low sort of barrier to entry. You don't have to produce like a really high quality video. You're just sharing a really personal insight, and personal, even if it's a business, you're showing like the personal side, the people, what you're doing. So if you're sharing a quick video in the stories, or if you're sharing photos in your stories, they're just highly time sensitive kind of things. So they're in the moment, you just do a quick story, a quick live, or a quick recorded story, or a series of images, and obviously they disappear after 24 hours. You can save them onto your profile so that people can see them for longer. But generally they're just like a snapshot, or a moment. And you can you can say, check out my profile. You've got a bit of a leeway to put in some text across the photos. And I just think they are a really good way of showing like a behind the scenes kind of thing. So where you might want to have, depending on your business model, you might want to have like a super polished professional look to your feed. You might want to have like a raw version on your stories and show kind of like a more behind the scenes and a more intimate view of what's going on. I think that's the way I would choose to use stories personally.
No, that makes sense. So you've got the polished one, but then it also encourages them to check out your profile more frequently, because you get those little snapshots that may be gone tomorrow, but to see what went into it, or like little interactions, or like, I don't know, holding that carrot on a stick out there, that if you come and check it out frequently, then you see all these cool little things that not everyone else sees.
100%. Yeah. And stories also, they appear at the top, just like on Facebook. They appear at the top, and they're not necessarily in chronological order, although usually as these companies roll out new features, they kind of start with that, and Instagram used to do chronological order. But again, they're curated in a way that Instagram's going to try and show you the stories that are most relevant to you and what you're interested in. So again, they're a good way of appearing at the top of someone's feed, because if you haven't posted new content for a day or two, but you're doing stories, then you've got another opportunity to be up there at the top of your audience's feed, which is great. And the stories, I think, are a great thing that people can use. I personally sit there, when I'm got a bit of downtime, and just stick it on and look through everybody's stories, and you see something interesting, you can go straight to their profile from the story.
Yeah, someone mentioned in the comments that it's like a backstage pass. So I like that idea that you kind of see it.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really cool way of thinking about it.
And it is like it's a little more engaging too, because it's not as polished. It's a little more like a live. It's more authentic, because it's, I don't know, like you said, in the moment. It's more just like, I don't know, it feels less planned, maybe less forced, and it's just like, boom, you just start recording, or you throw something together, and it's just very much like in the moment.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So you mentioned coffee shops. I know that fitness is huge on Instagram. Basically, all my feed is like fitness stuff and tattoo shops, and that's about it. So, like, what are some of the good niches or fields that Instagram is like the place to be for them?
Yeah. So, I mean, anything visual, it's a highly visual, and that's all it is visuals. There aren't those long text posts, and yeah, some people do advocate writing a really long post that goes along with your image, but I'm not sure that people are really reading essentially a blog post on their Instagram. So yeah, anything visual. It's funny you mentioned tattoo shops, because actually one of my sort of sub businesses is actually Instagram for tattoo shops. So highly visual. coffee shops, especially with all the, the art in the foam, the way they pour it and all that kind of stuff. Artists, photographers, travel is huge. The digital nomad lifestyle, that kind of thing that people are really into. But yeah, anything where your product is kind of aspirational or beautiful in some way. So if you're selling artwork, or if you're visually representing something with movement, dance, music, anything that's got a video element, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a specifically arty type thing. So anything that you can make beauty out of. So some, a furniture maker, or a tour guide, or anybody that's doing something where they can show something off, then that's the way to do it. And if you can put your own perspective on it that somebody else might not, that's the beauty of being able to be in control of, you don't need a professional photographer to come in and take photos of your product if you have a physical product, because you can get right down there with your iPhone and take a photo from an angle that a photographer would never think of, or as a tour guide. I wish I could remember, I saw it years ago. There was a tour guide, and he posts essentially pictures that are so close up that you can't actually see the monument. It's just essentially the brickwork or the wall or the stone or whatever. But it's like, if you went to the Empire State Building and you stood 1 foot away from it, this is what you would see. Not the iconic sort of zoomed out view, but this is what you'd see if you're right up close. And so that kind of perspective where you're saying, yeah, I'm not just doing it the same way that everybody does it, and I hired this photographer to come in and take 12 photos of my products, and now I'm just going to recycle them. You can get your own take on that, and then you can get user generated content as well. So if people are buying your product, you can share photos that they've taken and shared, and you can use real life examples of content that your customers are sharing
to get that social proof angle.
Yeah,
it's good. And I really like that. The idea, really, like you said, anything that's creative, beautiful, artistic, crafted, like anything that's visual. So it's really a ton of different niches and fields, and businesses could find success on Instagram.
Definitely.
And I also like the idea of, because so much in digital marketing in the online space is people copying other people because everyone sees what everyone is doing. But like the tour guide, instead of just doing, the temple from the back that you always see, or the Empire State Building from far back that you always see, it's like, no, I'm going to show this texture. I'm going to show this way up close thing that if you were here, you would see this, but like most people don't see because it's just the outside. So taking what's working, or what's maybe what and then putting your own unique spin on it. So it's not just the same images, the same videos, the same everything over and over and over again.
Exactly.
Because my wife and I, so we talk to a lot of digital marketers, and this is something that's going into 2018, especially just being able to carve out your own unique angle on whatever it is, just because there is so much of the same kind of everywhere.
Exactly. And to go along with kind of the tattoo idea, if you're into tattoos and you want to find a tattoo artist that specializes in that thing that you want to get, so you want to find out the personality and how they would approach something, because you want to invest in that. And it really should be the same with any product. If you resonate with the way that this company online presents themselves, then you're more likely to be a customer. And if you don't resonate with them, then maybe you shouldn't be their customer anyway. And that's the kind of the difficult thing that a lot of people struggle with online when they're trying to market themselves, is trying to appeal to everybody by, going back to that sort of tour idea of like, everybody posts this beautiful image of the Taj Mahal. So I'm going to post the same beautiful image, and it will appeal to everybody that likes that. Whereas your niche, you might repel some people by taking that really close up thing, because somebody might say, oh, well, I'm not interested in that. I want to see the big you know, wide angle view, but somebody else might say, well, I really like the detail. And so you can see where the alignment comes with one and not with the other. So this idea of not wanting to appeal to everyone can benefit you if you can kind of proactively push away those customers that you don't want anyway.
That's so good, because marketing should be, you're attracting certain people, of course, but you're also pushing away certain people that would not be a good fit with you, especially if you're like service based and you have to work with these people one-on-one for weeks or months. Having your own unique spin. You mentioned the Taj Mahal, and it made me think of the TV show An Idiot Abroad with Carl. And it's like his unique spin on the travel show is not like all the beautiful places and everything is perfect and everything is lovely. It's him like kind of being cranky and negative and like grouchy and seeing these places and showing them in a, oh yeah, I'm at the pyramids in Egypt, but I'm sitting in a Pizza Hut and look, there's like all this garbage over here. And so it's like, I'll watch anything he does now, because his personality, his unique spin, it's so much different than the glamorous kind of the stuff you see all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. So just, you know, kind of be yourself. Instagram gives you that opportunity to be yourself. The customers that align with your vision will be attracted to you. And if they're not attracted to you, then don't worry about it. Find, you know, it's kind of like, I was reading something by Leah Kalamakis the other day in her, you know, talking about email open rates. And people always focus on like, you know, if you've only got 20% open rate, then 80% aren't reading your emails. And why is that? Like, well, don't worry about that. Focus on the 20% that are. Focus on the people that are engaging with your content, because the other 80% might not be your ideal customer anyway. So don't go chasing after the ones that aren't interested when you've got a load of people here that already are.
Yeah, kind of focusing on the wrong thing there. You've got people who are clearly interested in you and what you've got to say, and maybe what you've got to sell, instead of just like always constantly chasing, oh, we need higher opens. Focus on those people who already like you, that, you know, they already know and trust you. So following your fans, as opposed to just trying to get more and more of the cold traffic, the new people into your you know, funnel or your business. That's awesome. So Daniel had a question here. Speaking of clients, how do you price this for your potential clients? So how do you sell your kind of social media services? Do you ever have trouble having them see the value of what you do?
Yeah. So pricing is actually something which is continually evolving. And I, at the moment, I'm not specifically publishing a set price, because I know that something might have a different value to somebody else. And even though I'm offering broadly similar packages, they are kind of bespoke at the moment as well. I also know that, so I've got another kind of focused area, which is a geographically sort of like a local business focus in South Africa, where incomes are significantly lower. So over there, I actually, even though my expenditures in the UK are higher, I price relative to, you know, I don't want to price myself out of the market. So I guess I undersell myself there, because that's what the market would reflect anyway. But yeah, it's like any service. You can't always convince somebody of the value to them. And actually, if you have to convince them of the value, then you're on an uphill kind of struggle. So I've had people regularly contact me saying, you know, I want to find out more. How does it work? What do we have to do? And a prime example of two key things from one literally just 2 days ago. A guy contacted me. He wanted more information. I gave him the information, and he said two things. One, he didn't feel comfortable at the moment giving out his passwords to somebody else. And two, he didn't feel able to, he wasn't in a position to pay for a service at the moment. So essentially, and service providers around the world will know this feeling, somebody is asking you to do something for free because it will help them, but they don't see the value in paying for it. But also somebody wants to hire a social media manager but not give out the passwords to their social media account. Like, so sometimes you're dealing with people who you think, okay, I could either spend a huge amount of time trying to win this guy around and convince him of the value and how secure it all is, or I can say, okay, we're not a good fit right now. So here's some resources that I've got, and I hope you enjoy them, and let me know if you need anything in the future. And that's kind of all you can do. So it's the same as whether if you're a copywriter or whatever, you have to convince people of the value of your work. And if it's a challenge for you to convince them, then I guess, and I'm kind of being reflective here as well, that maybe you're not doing a good enough job yourself of projecting what the value is. But if they need a lot of convincing, then they're probably not they're not aligned with you, at least at the moment anyway. So, I mean, specifically to do with Instagram, the lead time is a bit longer. If this client had 10,000 followers, could they convert a percentage of them into customers? Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure they can see that value. However, at the moment, they've got 100 followers. So can they see the value of investing in the time that it will take to get to those 10,000 followers? And that's the challenge. And some people see it and some people don't. And hey, that's okay. That's why I have a free 5-day email course. I send people, and it's like, here you go. These are literally my techniques. Here you go.
Yep. No, that's awesome that I don't know. There's a lot to unpack in there. One is that there will always be, we call them ask holes, who just constantly ask for things, or hey, can you look at this, or what do you think about this? And they're probably never going to buy it because they literally don't see the need for it if they can just ask and get most of the way there. You mentioned the uphill struggle, so some of your qualifications should happen before you get on the phone with someone, that sort of thing. But if you're having to do really, really heavy convincing of someone, I'm kind of like you, where it's probably not a good fit. Like, I'm not going to kill myself chasing after this one person when I've got all these other people who already kind of see the value in what I need. They might need a little convincing, or they might need to know why me as opposed to someone else. But it's not like social media is very important because this, and this.
Yeah.
It's just such a different idea. With Instagram as a whole, I guess we'll talk real quick, organic versus paid. Do you do a lot of paid traffic, or is most of it more organic traffic?
I don't do any paid traffic at the moment. So I'm not running any ads for myself or for clients. So it's all basically built on engagement. So posting fairly frequently and being active. And the thing, obviously nobody, probably even the people that work on it, they don't know how the algorithm works in total, once you put all the pieces in. But my belief is that Instagram rewards people that are using Instagram genuinely. So if you are an active user of Instagram and you're posting and liking and commenting and following and doing all the things that it's designed for, then they're going to, I guess, reward you for that by learning more about you and what you're interested in to make your feed more relevant, but also by promoting you to other people, and depending on which, I forget where different screens are on Instagram, but that you might also be interested in is something. If you follow these people, you will also be interested in these people. And if you're active and engaged, then my belief is that you're more likely to appear on that for somebody who should be interested than if you're not engaging.
Yep, that makes sense. And just, I think the consistency over intensity, just kind of that, the marathon versus the sprint. It's not like do a whole bunch of stuff once and then you just sit back all month. It's like, no, like you said, a few times a week, maybe once a day, putting out content, liking, commenting, engaging a little bit. And I think it snowballs. It's the same way with Facebook or any platforms. We don't know the exact, the algorithm specifics, but it seems like if you're going about things the right way, if you're engaging, you're not spammy, you're not like just harassing people, that over time it does start to build a little bit of momentum for what you've got going on. with the hashtag system, I know someone asked me this a few weeks ago, like, is there a certain number of hashtags they should use? Where should they use, or where should they find those to use? And then also the idea of like your own branded hashtags versus the more broad specific ones.
Yeah. Okay. So hashtags are like a bit of a double-edged sword, because the benefit that using hashtags has is that they make it easier for people who are interested in your content to find that content, because you know, if somebody's interested in black and gray tattoos, they can type in black and gray tattoos and get all the posts with that hashtag. The flip side of that is that it also makes it much easier for the bots and the spammers to do the same. So using hashtags, you have to, it's just part of the game. So sometimes when people kind of complain about, the bots and the spammers and whatever, like if they're, just a bot is liking your images because you're using a certain hashtag, then hey, it's another like, it's engagement, it's social proof. And yeah, that bot is never going to buy from you, but it's kind of building that momentum. So hashtags, there are some really, really popular hashtags, and then there are going to be more and more niche down hashtags. So again, using the kind of tattoo thing, you might be interested in neo-traditional tattoos. So if you type just the word tattoo in, you're going to get a whole bunch. But if you type in neo-traditional tattoo, you're going to get less. So if you use both of those hashtags in your post, then you're going to appear in both lists. Okay. And so somebody searching for tattoos, you're going to get lost pretty quickly, and it's going to be more difficult to be the featured post with that hashtag, whereas it's going to be easier if you're using a more niche one. But the exposure, the likelihood of more accounts seeing you is higher with the high volume. So you're going to want to use a mixture. And if you're within the Instagram app itself and you're typing them onto the post as you do it, then Instagram's going to tell you how many other posts are using that hashtag already. So as you type that hashtag, you're going to see as it kind of does the auto suggest underneath your post. It's going to say like 172 posts have used this hashtag, or 200 million posts have used this hashtag. And you want to use a mixture, of high frequency, middle frequency, low frequency hashtags. Using your own branded hashtag, it depends what you want to use it for. If you just want to categorize your posts, then there's absolutely no harm in it. If you want to encourage your users to share their posts with that hashtag, then that's a great way to get user-generated content. And then you can repost it and you can feature other people's content of them using your product or service or whatever. And in terms of where to find hashtags, Instagram does a pretty good job of suggesting as you type. Also, if you do a search for a hashtag, it will give you, that you might also be interested in, try this hashtag. So, make a note of those. You type in a hashtag relevant to you, it's going to suggest 4 or 5 or 6 other hashtags that might be relevant. And then you can go down that rabbit hole. If you're promoting like a digital nomad lifestyle, then it's going to say digital nomad. You might want to try nomad. You might want to try laptop lifestyle. You might want to try work and travel. It's going to suggest all of those related ones. And then there's also a website called Display Purposes Only. I think it's either Display Purposes Only or displaypurposes.com. And it basically does that for you. So you type in 1 or 2 hashtags or keywords that you want to use, and it will generate a list of, it will do a standard generate a list of 30, and you can copy paste them in. And it will give you an idea of their popularity and relevance to the ones that you've suggested. Do you want to use 30? Do you want to use 25? Do you want to use 27? There's no magic number. Maybe it's such a niche market that you only need to use 7 because there's only a certain range of relevant keywords. But keep them relevant, because you don't want to there's no benefit to you appearing in a bunch of random hashtag searches when your content isn't related to that. So keep them relevant to you. But yeah, by all means, if you want to have a branded hashtag, then go for it, because it's a way to curate your posts and user generated posts.
Do you keep the hashtags consistent for the most part? Like if you find the 20 you like, are you using those 20 for most of your posts?
That's a great question. So if you repeat the same exact list of hashtags again and again and again, then it seems to be that Instagram will penalize you for doing that.
Okay.
Because you're kind of trying to game the system by saying, I've found these are the highest performing hashtags and I'm always going to use them. So I'd always try and mix it up a little bit. You know, you might have 10 or 15 core ones, and then you add in a handful more that are specific to the image that you've posted. You know, maybe adding in something to do with the color scheme or the location or those kind of things. And actually that's sort of draws me into something else, which kind of related to hashtags, is the location tag of the image, where if you have a location-based business, you know, if you're in San Diego, then you need to be posting using the hashtag that you're in San Diego, because other people, especially if your services are location-based, then you want people around you that might not otherwise find you to see that. If you're like a global online coach or whatever, and you don't have a specific location, then you can either not put a location, or you can kind of try and appeal to people that, well, people in New York City might be interested in this, people in Thailand might be interested. You can play around with those hashtags to kind of see, you know, if you appeal to the digital nomad community, then, you know, using those location-based tags of where they are, where your customer is, rather than where you are, might be a way to go.
So maybe like for the digital nomad, some of the hot spots of where they are kind of congregating makes sense.
Exactly.
Does Instagram penalize you for using incorrect hashtags? Like if, I don't know, if you did like hashtag Justin Bieber, or like Kim Kardashian, someone who's got like millions and millions of followers and tons of people searching for that, but you're posting about like cats, has nothing to do with it at all. Like, are they going to catch on to that? Is that a bad idea?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to specifically be a detriment. It's just not going to benefit you. It's a wasted hashtag. So if the market of people that are interested in pictures of Kim Kardashian, if that market doesn't overlap with your target market, then there's no point being in their feed. You know, so if you appeal to fans of Kim Kardashian, you know, if you're, say, I don't know, selling makeup or whatever, then yeah, maybe, because you might be able to be relevant to the people that follow that hashtag. But if your target audience doesn't overlap with their target audience, then there's no benefit. There are certain hashtags which are negative. So there are banned hashtags. And if you use a banned hashtag, then if somebody visits your profile, they'll see your post, but it's not going to appear in anyone's feed or any featured pages or anything like that. So some of them are obvious. If you were to use a hashtag that was obviously sexist or racist or derogatory or inflammatory or whatever, then you should expect not to be featured very well. I believe there was a time when the hashtag happy birthday was a banned hashtag, and so your reach would be severely limited if you used that, and you just don't really know why. So you can, there are websites where you can test that. If you type in to Google shadow ban tester, then it will tell you if the most recent post on your account is banned or not. But I think people worry too much about, if you're using hashtags that are actually relevant to what you're doing, chances are it's going to be fine. If you can't think of any possible reason why this could be a negative hashtag, it's probably not. you know, but if you can clearly see that this could be misconstrued as a racist comment, you know, like if you, I don't know, I'm going to make up something ridiculous, but if you're an interior designer and you post an image of a kitchen and you use the hashtag, you know, and it's all beautiful and white and crystal and stuff, and you use the hashtag white is best, then, you know, maybe white is best is probably a hashtag that's banned because of the connotations that it might have. So
so just stop and think about it maybe before you, if you're questioning it, like maybe give it a second, but for the most part it sounds like nothing. Really
use your common sense, and I think people worry about it. And I know when I've run kind of challenges, group challenges, where people have been trying to build their following in sort of like a group coaching scenario, then I've talked about this notion, and then they all get really worried, like, oh my God, am I going to get banned? It's like, no, because you're not a white supremacist posting pictures that you know.
Exactly, That's funny. That's good to know, though, that if you're doing what you need to be doing, for the most part, you're going to be okay. And then I also wanted to touch on going back to the Kim K for a second, appealing to everyone. So even though you may be getting in front of a lot of eyeballs with certain tags, if it's not relevant, then like you said, it's wasted. So it goes back to that. You really want to appeal to niche down to, like with the tattoos, the neo-traditional, or, you know, the Japanese, whatever, like very, very specific. Like you like tattoos, but there are so many in the world. Going after the people who like a specific or black and gray or color, or I can't think of the like, I know for a little while it was the watercolor was like really big, so it was colorful, kind of no outlines, no whatever. So being able to niche down like that, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that kind of idea that you're sort of saying about appealing to, you know, being in front of all those eyeballs, you know, it goes the same for your account. You know, if you sort of scale it back and said, if you've got 200 followers and you post something and you get 20 likes, well, that's 10%. I'd call that 10% engagement, and that's a pretty good number. 10%. If you get 10% likes versus the total number of followers you've got, you're doing okay. But if those 200 followers, if 100 of them aren't relevant, then if you didn't have them, you only had 100 relevant followers and you still got 20 likes, then you'd have 20% engagement. You didn't get any more engagement. It's just more relevant because you're more targeted. So it's not always the case, you know, like who is it? Is it like some footballer, Ronaldo's got like the most followers ever on Instagram, and it's, you know, hundreds of millions. Like, but how many people actually see that post? Because you know, by the time it's filtered down into your feed, you might not even see it because you're following so many other people. So you know, it's not just about a sheer number. And actually, one of the things that I do with my clients is go through sometimes and prune their list, and there's ways of getting rid of followers so they're not following you anymore. Because if they haven't engaged with any of your posts for the past 3 months, then they're probably not going to convert.
Do you think that helps with the algorithm as well, if you've got 50% engagement after cleaning up your list as opposed to 3% engagement?
Definitely. Yeah, because Instagram's learning what is relevant to your followers, and if it can start to learn those things and say, okay, well, this account might only have a small number of followers, but their followers are highly engaged, then it's going to make sure that every time you post, that more of your followers get the opportunity to see that, versus, you know, showing it to some of your followers that aren't engaged, and therefore, you know, you're not missing out if they hadn't even seen it, because you didn't get any kind of benefit from them seeing your post.
That makes sense. So there's no real benefit to buying likes or follows or having bots do that, because I'm sure there's a lot of that too, the same way there is on Facebook, where essentially they're not real people. You may have lots and lots of follows and maybe even some likes and comments, but it's all just, you're basically paying for it for a limited time, and then it just kind of stops, just kind of dies off.
So there's only one situation where I'd say, yeah, fine, just go and buy some followers. Is if the only reason that you want more followers is for social proof, then just buy 10,000 followers and you know, have at it. Because if that's all you want is someone to visit your profile and say, wow, he's got 10,000 followers, then great. Just buy them. It's quicker, it's easier. It's probably cheaper than hiring a social media manager. It's a lot quicker than doing it all yourself. But if you want to convert any of those 10,000 followers that you bought, you got a 0% chance. So if you build it slowly with genuine followers, it's going to take longer, but you've got much more chance of actually resonating with these people and building some kind of relationship. Because, you know, it's not just a spam fest, it's called social media. So the idea is to be social, you know, with real people on the other side of the screen. You know, it does kind of feel antisocial when everybody's sitting there on their lunch break or on the bus, you know, just scrolling through. It feels pretty antisocial. But if they're genuinely connecting with someone on their phone somewhere else in the world, then that is social media. So
for sure. I think it's a big difference. Let me jump into some of these questions on here. Let's see. So this is a question from Daniel. Some of these, like, I don't know what they are, so hopefully you'll understand them. But he said, views on the use or non-use of hashtags and why.
So yeah, definitely advocate 100% using relevant hashtags. They help genuine users find you based on what they're interested in. They do have the side effect of allowing bots to find you based on the same information, but you got to take the rough with the smooth. You got to accept that that's part of the game on Instagram. So yeah, absolutely. I know that there are some social media experts and gurus out there, whatever they call themselves or other people call them. There are some that say, no, absolutely don't use hashtags, but they might be using other techniques which might be out of reach. So they might be in what's called a power network, where they're kind of not necessarily buying likes, but they're swapping likes with other people with big accounts. And that's something which maybe you can only do if you've got 20,000 followers. You know, there might be, it's like a club that you can't get into if you haven't got enough followers. So if you're starting out, if you've got 1,000 or less followers, or, you know, if you're just building genuinely through engagement, then yeah, I believe hashtags are a very useful tool for people to find you.
And then he also asks ways to transition from one Instagram theme to another seamlessly. So he says, for instance, 1 month ago, we went with a nature theme that's heavy on greens, but next month the client is obsessed with a color and a non-nature theme that doesn't complement the green. So how to transition from theme A to theme B? Is it something you do slowly? Do you just make that transition? Like, any insight you can provide there would be great.
Yeah, that's not something that I've experienced. However, if this looks like it's going to be a pattern, that you're going to have essentially a theme per month or per season, then I would just make the transition part of the feature. So by choosing to either do something like have some transition posts where you're saying, you know, basically that's all folks for this theme, and next month it's going to be all this theme. So you could make it a feature like that, or you could make it a feature by not mentioning it. So you could do some kind of stark contrast where if it's all bright and light and green 1 month, and then it's all dark and red and brown the next month, just like boom, switch. Because the first time you do that, it might look strange, but then if it is a pattern and somebody's scrolling through your feed, and then boom, another switch, and then a month later another switch, then that becomes the feature in itself. So yeah, I don't have an answer from experience, but I would say just go with it. And if that's what the customer, if that's what the client is doing, or that's what you want to do with your feed, then just find a way to make it work. And, you know, execution is better than thinking about it and never executing. So just go with it. And the other thing that a lot of people I don't think realize is, if you do post something and then you change your mind about it, you can either delete the post or you can archive it. And if you archive a post on Instagram, it means it hides it from your feed, so nobody else can see it, but it's still on your account, so you can see it. I think we lost the connection there.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Yeah, I think that was me. I think sorry about that. So transition, like you were saying, basically don't just sit and pontificate about it endlessly. Just get out there and try it and make it's not a feature. How's it go? It's not a bug, it's a feature. Like make that part of the thing that it goes from red to green to black, and so people can see that and be like, oh, and it might even be your own little shtick that, oh, this is the thing I do. Yeah. Change it up.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're posting frequently and you're posting more than 9 images in a series, then that transition is going to drop off your profile page anyway. People would have to scroll to see it. So you're right. Once you've done it a couple of times, it's a feature, not a bug. That's the way that you do it. And maybe you want to then think about how do you do it more consistently. So if one month you posted 15 images that were all white and green, then the next month, if you're posting red and blue, then try and post 15 or at least a multiple of 3 so that you maintain kind of consistency and don't have it kind of like jagged.
Yeah.
Or make it jagged and again make it a feature, not a bug. It's all, I think, probably something like that. The person viewing your account is going to care about it a lot less than you do. They might not even notice.
Yeah.
And if you asked for customer feedback and you're like, well, did you think it was a bit sloppy the way I transitioned from this to that? They'd be like, what?
You did what?
Yeah, I did. So yeah, don't worry about it. Would be my advice. Or do something consistent. So make it if you're doing a set number of posts, make them a multiple of 3 so that it always lines up or whatever.
Gotcha. So either be intentional or just don't worry about it because you're the only one that's noticing it.
Yeah.
Let me dive in here real quick because we're just about out of time and I think we've got all the questions. Krista asked a question about sponsoring posts, but Krista, we basically just commented on organic traffic today. So let's see. She just says, is it similar to Facebook where you can target an audience or does it just show it to more people using the hashtags you used? Yeah,
so as far as I know, you do it through Facebook ads anyway. So it's really similar. And yeah, absolutely. You're going to have all of those options of targeting by demographics and interests and locations and all that good stuff. So if you've done Facebook ads, then I believe it's not too dissimilar from Facebook ads anyway. So yeah, definitely targeting your audience is possible. It's not just paying for more eyeballs. It's paying for more, hopefully, of the right eyeballs.
Yeah, for sure. So Krista, if you'll go and watch, I did some Facebook trainings in the group and on the site. And yeah, it's basically the same thing since Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same parent company, work together, whatever. Instagram is essentially a feature of Facebook ads at this point. So it's like, this is your image, this is your video, whatever it is, I want to send it to the Facebook ad network, or I want to send it over in the right-hand column. I want to send it to Instagram. So it's really just a part of the overall ads manager. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, Al, I believe that is all the questions. Thank you so much for hopping on here. Like, I know I learned some, I'm sure they learned a lot. Like, this has been super awesome.
Thanks for having me, Ron. I really appreciate it.
So if people want to find out more about what you do or the services you offer, where can they go on the World Wide Web to find you?
Okay, so I've been working just by referral, really. So even on my website at the moment, it just says that I do websites. So that's, I've been putting it off because I'd rather work on client stuff than tinker around with my website. So my website's called rockstarwp.com, which is Rockstar Web Presence. So rockstarwp.com, where you can meet me there. It's got links to some of my social profiles there. Also, if you go to rockstarwp.com/5dayig, that's the number 5dayig, then you can get a free 5-day email course to run through optimizing your Instagram profile, content, hashtags, various strategies. Really simple, 5, and there's not even any hard sell at the end. It's just content basically that I put together for some other people that I was working with. So by all means, jump on there. If you're interested in barefoot running and beer and seeing photos of my watch most mornings, then you can follow me on Instagram on my personal profile, which is Clunnie. You're more than welcome to do that as well.
Awesome. Well, we will definitely include some links down below or over here somewhere, wherever they are.
Wherever they go.
Yeah, it's like depending on where we are in the feed, but definitely go and give Al a follow. Check out his stuff. That Instagram 5-day course sounds super helpful. So definitely check those out. Al, thanks again for hopping on here and just dropping some knowledge.
My pleasure.
All right, well, we'll talk to you soon. See you.
Thanks. Bye.